Hello and welcome to another out of spec detailing video here from Clear Detailing in Northern Colorado. Here we have all of my 3 golden retrievers. Yes, a professional detailer that owns 3 golden retrievers. And these dogs really go everywhere with us. This is my wife's Volkswagen ID4. This is really our dog hauler. And today we're going to be putting all different types of tools to the test on how to clean dog hair out of carpet, making it quick, making it simple, seeing what works and seeing what doesn't work. So hopefully you guys will get a lot of joy out of this video and help some of you dog owners out there. So welcome back and let's jump into it. So before we get started in today's video, let's first introduce the crew here. So in front here is our newest addition. This is Mr. Oliver. He is a 7-month-old golden retriever. Absolutely love this dog, but definitely still in puppy phase. Next over here, we have Charlie. Charlie is 3.5 years old, going on 4 years old. He was our second addition. And of course, we have our first dog. This is Miss Stella over here, 4.5 years old, turning 5 here pretty soon. And we really started off with Stella, absolutely loving having a golden retriever. Ended up saying, oh, it'd be amazing to have a second one. So the second one could play with the first one. And then we decided, I don't know, for whatever reason, we needed more chaos in our life and decided to add Oliver. But honestly, we absolutely love it. Now, dogs are a big part of our lives, and honestly, they really go everywhere with us. We'll take them to breweries, we'll take them on trips, we'll even just take them out to lunch, dinner, or breakfast with us as well. So they do spend quite a bit of time in the car. The dogs also quite often come to the shop with me, so they're often in the car, in and out of the vehicle, and in all honesty, I would much rather have dogs than a perfectly clean interior. But I do like to keep up on the interior quite often, especially with 3 dogs here. The amount of hair we get in our car is honestly quite insane. Now, from my previous experience over the past 4.5–5 years with dogs, what I've really come to find is you really need to keep up on cleaning your interior. So that's really what all these tools are about today. We want to make sure that they're very easy to use, very quick, and efficient and effective, most importantly. We don't want to sit here and spend 2 hours vacuuming this car out. We really want to be able to quickly pick up the dog hair and move on. Now, what I'll tell you, one of the biggest differences we've done in our vehicles is putting covers basically here in the cargo area and on the back of the seats. You can see one of them that we use here in the vehicle. Now, I actually pulled this out because I wanted to show you guys what a vehicle looks like with the dogs being in here for quite literally 30 to 45 minutes. And this is the amount of hair. So, pretty insane. We're going to be really putting this to the test. You can see it just absolutely goes everywhere. Now, these are not only great for helping kind of keep the carpet underneath looking nice, but they also really help with the dogs. Now, carpet like this, the dogs really tend to slide all over the back of the vehicle. So putting these on the back of the seats and the cargo area here not only helps with cleaning, but it really helps them with traction and being comfortable in the back of the car. Now, there's many different mats you can do. You can get kind of OEM mats that are more rubberized. I personally have found something like this that is almost kind of like the vegan leather, which is basically a synthetic leather, is really, really nice. Now, these essentially Velcro to the back of the seats here so they stay put. It really helps keep that carpet clean, and you're not having to pick up as much dog hair of like this. So this whole area would be easily, you go quickly vacuum, wipe it down with, some interior cleaner, even a damp, wet towel, and can really pick up all that dirt and grime that the dogs really put in the car. So now that we kind of understand what we use in our vehicle, let's jump into the different products we're going to be testing today and really see what works, see what doesn't work, and see what's most effective in my actual recommendation. Now, in front of me here, we have a wide spread of different tools, really ranging from the cheapest one at $8.99 honestly going up to kind of the $500 mark in the pro level tools that I'll use here. Now I'm anxious to see if any of these tools that I haven't tested actually may work its way into my detailing arsenal. Now a lot of these may be something that's a little unachievable. You don't necessarily need a $450 vacuum like I have wall mounted over there. We're going to be testing that, nor do I think you really need to have something like this Dyson with a pet hair attachment on it, but we're going to see what actually works today and everything in between. Something like this from the Rake company is a great, fantastic tool for dog hair, but you have to have a pretty serious air compressor. Mine here at the shop costs about $1,200. So you can imagine using something like that with this is not really all that economical for quite a lot of folks. So let's start off here with the cheapest ones. Now what I did really is I've used some tools in the past, and then I went on Amazon and searched for pet hair removal for cars. And honestly, quite a few of these came up as the highest rated, the most reviewed ones, and I wanted to test them out. So first off over here, we have some undescript Chinese company that comes with a set of 2 tools in it. Now this retails for $8.99 on Amazon right now. And what's interesting is you really get 3 tools in 2. So first off here, this kind of gold one, we have this kind of sharp serrated edge on here. Now, one thing I want to make sure we're doing with the carpet is actually not ruining it. Now, what I say by ruining is you can actually start to pull all of the carpet fibers up, and it's going to basically leave these strings everywhere. It's not dog hair, it's actually the carpet pulling up. Once you pull carpet out, it's basically, it doesn't grow back, of course, right? So we don't want to be removing the actual carpet. Now there are times with dogs in the vehicles that they kind of naturally start to get these piles in the carpet. Now, a lot of the times what you actually have to do with those is shave them with something like you would trim your beard with. You go in there, kind of cut the fibers off to make it lay even. Really not something we want to create with these. Now with this, we also have this gray kind of plastic edge here with a bunch of different ribs on it. And on the other side, we have a white one. So I'll be curious to test these out to see if they work. Next, moving up to, I guess, the second most expensive is this product from Analan. Now, these all came very highly rated. Let's just crack this package open. And this is a very interesting tool. So a 3-sided tool here, and they all have different serrated edges on them, if you will, kind of these pokey edges. But what's nice about this, and what you'll see is very similar to other tools in here, is that this is rubber. Now this is not going to tear up the carpet. So already I'm thinking this is going to perform better than our $8.99 tool, but I'll be anxious to see which kind of side works best on this. Now, all carpets are going to be very different. And in my impression, this is not a great carpet in our Volkswagen ID4. Tesla makes terrible carpet as well. But then you get into stuff like Rivian, which really doesn't need a lot of these tools. Really vacuums up dog hair quite easily. Other vehicles, it just really depends. So these tools may not work for your car, but I would, especially at these low price points, maybe test it and see how they work. But this is really going to be, I would say, I don't know, 80% of the cars with very cheap, kind of terrible carpet in my impression, actually. Next, we move on to one that I absolutely love, and I've been using in the shop for a very long time. This is called the Lilly Brush, and they actually make 3 different sizes of this. So this one here retails for $14.99. Honestly, quite expensive when you compare it to this, which has 3 different sides on it, and I don't know. This to me has been a real winner. The only issue with some of these tools is you still kind of have to have a vacuum with them. So some of these tools are going to be single use. You're not having to kind of scrape up the dog hair and then vacuum it. They're going to pick up the dog hair and then you kind of empty it, if that really makes sense. Lilly Brush also makes this pro level kit. Now, I have to be totally honest, this to me is a little expensive. So this is $33.99 for this kit here. But what's nice about it is you have something like this crevice tool here. Now this is great for in between seats, but I have to be honest, when dog hair falls underneath seats and things like that, where they're not getting kind of stomped down, embedded into the pile of the actual carpet, 9 times out of 10, you can just vacuum it. So this is a very niche one. But what I think a lot of folks may like is if you have something like a Suburban or even a big area like this, is having a larger hairbrush removal tool like this, where you just boom, get a lot of it at once. Maybe saves a little bit more scrubbing than this, but I'll be honest, I really use this a lot more. Now coming over here to the FurCobra, this is really what started the whole video. I actually got an ad for this on Instagram and I was like, I really need to pick this up because the ad looked amazing. It was actually comparing it here to the Dyson with the pet hair removal tool, and the amount less work that this took was pretty impressive. Now this tool, very simple tool here. It's kind of this silicone sides here. Now on one side you have basically two kind of edges, if you will, kind of like an ice hockey skate. And then on this side you have three edges. Inside here you have a piece of plastic so that it stays nice and rigid, but a very simple tool which retails for $12.70 currently on Amazon. I'm anxious to try this. I tried it at home on our couches and I was like, holy smokes, this thing absolutely rips. Now, one of the next things that we've actually used at home, but honestly stopped using because it kind of got clogged up after an extended period of time, is this tool called the Chom. Now, this is one of those that you don't necessarily need to use a vacuum with. So it has kind of a chamber in here that is going to pick up the dog hair, put it into the chamber, and then you're not having to have a vacuum. But honestly, with my experience with dogs, you not only have dog hair, you have grass, you have dirt in there, which gets embedded into the carpet. So again, my recommendation, you should have something, some covers that go over these, and try and not have as much exposed carpet, if you will. Now, if you don't like those mats, would rather have this, maybe your dogs are infrequently in your vehicle, you can absolutely leave them carpet free. But I'm gonna tell you, it's not going to pick up all the dirt. This is really focused on just picking up dog hair. So some pros and cons there. Next, we move over to a very simple tool, a lint roller. We use these all the time on our clothes just to get a little bit of dog hair off. Even when we wash our clothes, still covered in dog hair. Our entire life is just dog hair, dog hair, dog hair. So these we leave in every car. And honestly, these can be pretty effective tools, not only because they will pick up a little bit of dirt, but it's actually picking up the dog hair and getting it out of the carpet. These are awesome, but you will go through a ton of strips. So again, we're going to be testing all of this, see what works. Next over here, we get into a little bit more of the professional grade tool. Now this is called the Air Blaster from the Rake company. Many different uses for this, but honestly, one of the greatest things about this tool is it basically gets the dirt and dog hair out of the carpet. Now it's a little bit of, I would say, a tool that a lot of DIY guys don't really understand because it basically makes a mess around the rest of the car. Now this can be effective for many different reasons. Essentially, when you're vacuuming up carpet, dirt is getting stuck down in the pile of the carpet. And honestly, what a lot of guys I see do, they take an extractor in there and you're just getting mud and nastiness out of the carpet. What this does is dislodges everything down low and basically puts it into the air. Yes, it does make a mess around the car, but what I really do is use this as kind of my second initial when I'm doing a big interior detail. I vacuum up all the big stuff in the car, come in here, hit this. It really helps dislodge dog hair, dislodge dirt, and all of that other grime that is buried into the carpet. Now this is a great tool, but you have to have it paired with a pretty aggressive air compressor. Like I said, my air compressor here at the shop, it's like 150 PSI one. I think it's a 60, 50, I don't even know, maybe 100-gallon tank. I don't even know, it doesn't matter. It was like $1,200, super expensive, not something you're just gonna have laying around your house or are gonna go pick up. So this may be a tool that's not for everybody. Now the cool thing with this tool is it actually has a tip on it where the air shoots out of it that actually spins. Now this is very similar to another product called the Tornator. This is just made by the Rake company. Lots of cool benefits with this actual tool. And I've done a full dedicated video on this if you're more interested. But essentially this tip, instead of just spraying one direction, kind of creates this tornado or vortex effect and really helps pick up all of that dirt. Next to the second most expensive one, I guess, or I guess technically even cheaper than the air compressor, if you consider that, is something like this. A lot of people purchase Dysons, especially when they have pets at home. Now this is one that I have here at the shop just to kind of clean up after the dogs. But what I found that I actually really like having, especially using on carpets and couches, is the pet hair removal tool here. Now honestly, this works pretty well, but only on certain carpets. Now, a lot of the times this gets very clogged up. They're kind of a pain in the butt to clean, not to mention they're expensive. Realistically, for a Dyson with this tool, spending $500, that's not the most economical for a lot of people, if you will. And then lastly, just a plain and simple vacuum. Now, I use a pretty crazy one here at the shop. It is really a professional grade detailing vacuum. It's made by Vacuum Aid. Can show you some quick B-roll over here. Now, this is something, if you're very into vacuuming out your car, you don't want to go to a car wash and use their very terrible vacuums, this thing absolutely rips. Crazy suction on it. It is, I would say, expensive, but for my use case, it's an absolute necessity. So I do actually have a lot of customers that actually have these hanging in their garage. They like to quickly vacuum their car out. It's amazing. Now, what I found, I had a few different vacuums here at the shop in the past couple of years. This thing way stronger and really gets in there and gets a lot of dog hair out. But there are a lot of times where it won't get everything out, and you have to come in here and use a different tool. So let's jump into starting from the least expensive, working our way up and seeing what works the best. Now, just to quickly show you, and actually the first one we're gonna start with, this is my Vacuum Aid Garage Vac Pro. Now, what I have on this is a 50-foot hose reel. This is really the way, if you're one of those OCD guys, a professional detailer, or really a weekend guy that likes to keep their cars very clean, even their garage clean, having one of these. Now, you're realistically going to spend about $450 on the vacuum. You do get a hose with it, probably another $200 for a hose reel. So $650 for this setup. But again, I want to quickly show you what 9 times out of 10 people do and really struggle with, which is just vacuuming. But this thing absolutely rips. I think you'll be surprised of how much dog hair it actually does pick up just because of the immense suction power. So just wanted to start off here with the vacuum, of course. And as you can see, it actually picked up quite a bit. Now, this dog hair might not be super ingrained, but you can still see it left quite a bit of dog hair up here. If you're going for real perfection, you're not going to get everything with this. Now, I like to use a kind of crevice tool like this. This is what I use for basically all vacuuming on the cars. Now, instead of going directly like this and rubbing it over, what I like to do is kind of curve it, and I basically use the edge of it, which is going to help dislodge the actual dog hair in there, and it also is going to pick up that dirt. Now, there are different products that you can actually attach to your vacuum. One of them is called, I believe, the Fur Reel. Now, I've used that in the past. It basically has those silicone rubber tips like the Lilly brushes on it, and I've liked the product and because it's kind of a one-hand use situation, but what I found is it actually wears out the tips very quickly on it. And my finding is, like, you really get about 3 months out of this quite expensive tip on the vacuum, especially for heavy use cases like this and a professional detailer. And I really find that it's actually quite annoying to use. I don't like how large the tip is. It's really tricky to get in different areas, so you're switching attachments all the time. So that's why that tool is not in this test. But next, let's move on to the $8.99 tool. Next tool we're gonna test out, which honestly is probably the cheapest ones, but you're gonna have to have refills for the Lint Roller, is just a simple lint roller. Now, this is gonna be great for a few things, and I actually use these quite often in cars. So one swipe over here, honestly picks it up quite nice. Now, the only issue with this is kind of the ergonomics with it. And as you can see, it's not picking up absolutely everything, but it's doing a very reasonable job here. Now, on here, you can see it is picking up some dirt, which is the great part of it. But you can see how much hair is on here. You're gonna have to constantly tear these sheets off. So doing a full car like this, not ideal, but this could come in use cases certain times. Now, it's going to be an issue like areas over here, like how do you get in here? Like, it's just a little bit cumbersome. You're going to leave some on the edge there. So I would say this is probably like a 6 to 7 out of 10. Honestly, works pretty decent. I think it can be used in certain use cases, but I wouldn't use this as a dedicated dog hair removal tool. So moving on to the cheap Chinese Amazon tool here. Now I've seen a lot of these and people actually use them at home on carpets. They make different sizes of these, like you can have kind of a foot wide one of this and you use it on your carpet. Surprising how much it actually picks up. Now I think that may be great for a kind of long carpet, but when I do this, I can absolutely see it kind of tearing up the carpet here. These fibers are starting to get pulled. So this to me, okay, yes, it's effective, but it's actually kind of tearing up the carpet. I hope you can see, yeah, see all that black fuzz in there? That's actually the carpet coming out. So this to me is a no-go. I don't want to ruin the carpets. If you use this frequently, your carpet's going to look absolutely terrible. So this to me is a complete skip. Now let's test out these tools over here. So we're going with the gray first. Doesn't sound very good, and as you can see, it's actually ripping up the carpet as well. So these two tools so far, not a huge fan of. Now let's try this white side. So that's actually working reasonably well, and I don't feel like it's actually tearing up the carpet quite as much. I can actually, yep, never mind. It is piling that up a little bit. So this tool, yeah, you can see what it does to that carpet weave. Again, this is really down to just really crappy carpet. So maybe if you have a higher end carpet in your vehicle, like, you know, an Audi, Porsche, something like this, these might be okay, but I'm not a fan of these. So let's keep moving on. Next tool I want to test here is the FurCobra. Now again, I've tried this at home and was actually really impressed. Again, one thing I don't like about those metal tip things like that is on plastics like this, if you touch these, they'll really destroy it. Actually, that brings me to a great point. The pumice stones. Forgot to mention this earlier in the video. I really don't like pumice stones because they will completely scratch up all of this. Areas like all of this plastic, if you touch it, will absolutely scratch that up. It's permanently scratched. So that's why that's not in this video. But let's give the FurCobra a test. Now this is the second cheapest tool we have here and has two different sides on it. So let's just see how this thing works. Honestly, not bad at all. Now, one of the things you're going to notice here, see all of the dirt and debris. So you're going to want to use this with a vacuum. Now I know for a lot of people that's not ideal. Now you can get some cheaper, inexpensive vacuums. You can get like the Bissell Garage Vac or something like that. I think they're around 200, 250 bucks. I mean, honestly, if you have a dog, a vacuum's kind of necessary, I would say, but that's just my opinion there. So let's try the 3 side. We just tried the 2 side. Honestly, I'm not really seeing a difference there other than, yeah, this actually works. So like these tools are great because then you can pick up this hair and it's mostly gone. You're going to leave a couple behind, but again, I can still see all of this dirt in here. So I would use this in conjunction with a vacuum, but I would give this a very high rating. 9 out of 10 here, especially considering the price. The only reason I wouldn't give it a 10 out of 10 is because you actually have to use another tool with it, which in all honesty, all of these you really will. Now let's move to the Lilly brushes here. So let's start off with the cheapest one, retailing at $14.99. And honestly works pretty similar to the FurCobra. Now you're seeing still some dog hair remaining in there, so maybe we'll come back with the FurCobra. So I would tell you it's doing pretty good, but still leaving quite a bit of stuff. So let me come over here and quickly grab this tool once again and see if this actually works a little bit better at getting those more ingrained hairs. So those are pretty deep in there, but yeah, look, it's still picking up stuff there. Okay, so that's pretty cool, pretty impressive. So let's go Lilly Brush there and then go, honestly, I would say like pretty similar. I think it's going to come down to like ergonomics of these two tools. This one's definitely a little shorter, but I actually like the kind of sides on this. It seems to like you can really get some pressure in there. This is really down to friction, not necessarily pressure, but I'm pretty impressed with that. Now, the other two tools, in my opinion here from Lilly, I would probably tell you to skip. I personally like the smaller one. If you really feel like you need the large one, okay, you can definitely use it. And it definitely works well in large areas. But you can see it's still leaving quite a bit of this behind. That one picks up a little bit. Let's just see. I just feel like this works so much better than the Lilly brushes. Yeah, really impressed with this. Now, the crevice tool, this may be great for little edges like this, again, in between seats. This is a cool tool, but honestly, are you going to use it all the time? I don't know. Like maybe in these little corners it's helpful, but yeah, it's just such a tiny brush. I don't know. Not super sold on that one, to be honest. I keep going back to this. This thing, wow. Already, I mean, this may be the new out-of-spec detailing dog hair removal tool that I completely love. I mean, this thing just rips dog hair. Impressive, very impressive. So Lilly brushes, I would probably give 7.5 to 8 out of 10, but I would definitely say so far, this is my favorite. Moving over here to the Analan. Now you can really see this more up close and personal. So different edges all over this. And again, kind of that silicone. I'll be curious to see what kind of these serrated edges do. So let's start at small, which is this side down. Dang. Pretty good there, actually. Really like that. Yeah, that works pretty darn decent. Let's try the medium. That's pretty freaking awesome, actually. So I'm just curious. Yeah, it's not pulling up anymore. So what I want to try with the Cobra over here is to do this kind of small area and then come back with this and see if it pulls any more. Honestly, I would say these two are pretty darn similar here. This thing is pretty great though, in all honesty. Now, I kind of feel like I don't like the largest one. The medium or small seems to really get after it. Yeah, those are pretty cool. So again, I really like kind of these softer edges. You can go right over plastics like this and not really worrying about scratching it up. So I would say this is pretty darn close with the FurCobra. I would say honestly, ergonomic wise, let me just kind of feel this. This one's a little larger, which could be good and bad. Now I do like that it has a tip on it that may help you in some certain instances, but this feels still pretty darn nice. And I mean, holy smokes, that works nice. Pretty impressed. So these two, honestly, I would say you could really go for either one of these. This is a couple bucks cheaper. I'm not sure that's going to make a difference. You do have 3 sides again over here on this Analan one, which may actually help you if you have multiple different vehicles with different types of carpet. So honestly, both of these still 9 out of 10. Next, we move on to the Chom. Now, this says, folks, this is the world's best pet hair remover. Will it work in cars? So it says furniture, car upholstery, clothing, and more. Now this tool is pretty interesting because it has this little reservoir in it, so it actually holds the dog hair in this. Now let me explain how this tool works a little bit. So you have, I don't know, they used to use these back in the day. I remember my parents had these that looked very similar. Basically, it's this fiber that run one way and picks up dog hair. Basically, how you use this, it's a little funky, honestly. I don't know. Let's just test this out. Maybe I'm using this wrong, but let's give this a try. So there's almost like a technique. I remember we used to have one of these at the house, and I don't know. Honestly, this is like the least ergonomic thing because, okay, so it is picking up some hair in here, but I kept pressing this button because my hand naturally wants to like rest here to kind of help it. Let me see if I can get this thing to work. So what's weird is this basically is supposed to spin, and I think this rubber is very similar to like what you have on the FurCobra, the Lilly brush, and it's supposed to help pick up. See, again, hit that open. Yeah, it's just kind of rolling. I don't know. Not pretty impressed with that, in all honesty. It's also pretty large. Okay, so I got it working here. I wonder if you have to, it's just like an angle thing, so maybe just a little bit more time. But like you can see here, like it's just not doing anything. And in cars, you have a lot of detailed areas like this. So again, let me grab these other two brushes over here. And show you how quickly this would go. So I like the two-sided better on this one for sure. That works pretty awesome. And that works pretty freaking awesome. So this, no go to me. The only thing I do like about it is that the hair gets trapped in here and then you can just pull it out instead of this kind of situation where now you have to pull this out or vacuum it. But honestly, like I would give this a 2 out of 10. Not the world's best. Moving on. Moving on here to the Dyson. And before you guys freak out and go, this isn't the $700 one. No, this doesn't have lasers pointing out of it and all that crazy nonsense. This is a Dyson that I think a lot of people will get. I think this is like the V15, who knows, whatever it is. It's a Dyson. In my opinion, I've used a lot of them. They all work relatively the same. So this brush tool up here actually works quite great. Now you can see all the dog hair off of it. Pretty gross, but let's just give this a test on the lowest setting first. Did pretty good. Let's bump this up a little bit. So missing quite a bit of hair, I would say. So let's put this bad boy at full throttle. And I would say it worked okay, but didn't work amazing in my opinion. And this is a very expensive tool. I mean, you're talking 300 up to like 750 bucks for a Dyson. All of them, you can get this head on it. Honestly, I would say not ideal here. Now, again, I think this could be based on different types of carpet you have. If you have a little bit longer carpet, like in an Audi Porsche, this probably works a little bit better. But honestly, the real issue with this tool is just the size. And then you get into areas like this, and it's very cumbersome. You can't really get into areas like that. So honestly, let's just do a quick comparison of our two favorites over here. Feel like this is just so much quicker. Which side am I using? Yeah, I can tell I was using the large side there. Pretty darn awesome there. So still, these two really impressed with. Next, we move on to the pro grade tool here. Now, I do think it's a little unfair to say this is the most expensive because the tool is not necessarily that expensive. This is 40 to 50 bucks retail depending on which website you get. The only issue with it is you have to hook it up to an air compressor. Now you may be able to get away with kind of a smaller air compressor that's, you know, between 100 and 250 or so, but I got to tell you, my huge air compressor I have here at the shop is constantly refilling when I'm using this tool, and honestly gets to the point that it overheats because it needs so much air with this tool. Now, again, I think this tool is slightly confusing for quite a few people because it kind of makes a mess. You're not picking up all the hair, you're really blowing it out of the carpet. So it can be a little bit of negative there. But what I typically do when I use this tool, again, I go through, I vacuum out all of the big stuff in the car. Not trying to get dust off, you know, like rear shelf here, the screens and stuff. I just get the big stuff first, then I come in with this tool, blow everything out. When I do this, I leave all the doors open and try and push stuff out the door. Now, if you're working inside, all this dog hair is gonna go where? Yep, exactly. It's going to go everywhere in your shop space. So I really like to do this outside as much as possible. But this tool is great because it just dislodges everything. Again, this is really effective for really soiled carpets. If you get a lot of dirt in them, instead of just putting cleaner on top of it, making mud in there, this gets it out of the carpet. But it does take a bit of time to use, but it's super effective at the same time. So let me just show you how this tool works here. It will be loud, so I'll try and get the volume a little bit quieter, but here we go. And that's the beauty of this product. It really gets all the hair out of it. And because this tip here kind of spins, it's not just one singular motion, it really helps get everything out. Now, even in areas down here, which will hold a lot of dog hair or very intricate areas like edges and things, this, you just come in and do one of these. Now again, you can see that it makes a mess of the rest of the car, but it really dislodges that quickly. Then I just come back through, quickly vacuum it up. Now in all honesty, this is the longest way to do it, but in my opinion, the most effective way, because you're getting a lot of dirt out of the carpet. Then you're really going in doing a full interior detail. Now what you can use this product with too, once all the dust kind of settles, if you will, if you get it up on areas like this, you can blow that out, but you're kind of chasing yourself over and over. But again, for big in-depth details, this is great. This, in my opinion, is not something you should be using really like on a weekly basis, because you're kind of having to clean everything. But for those big, deep, nasty details that I do here at the shop, this is extremely effective. So let's finish this video up. I'll give you my final thoughts on what tools you should get, what tools you shouldn't get, and everything in between. Let me give you my final thoughts on tools you need, tools you maybe don't need, and tools you can definitely think about. So first off, here at the shop, I genuinely cannot live without something like this from the Rag company. This tool saves my butt, saves so much time, and is extremely effective. Now, I think for 99% of the people out there, if you don't have an air compressor at home, I wouldn't run and go get one and say you absolutely have to have this tool. What I would instead invest in is just a decent vacuum. Now, you don't need a crazy vacuum setup that I have here at the shop. You don't need to get the Vacuum Aid Garage Vac Pro. You don't need a hose reel. You can go very simple. Actually, my dad at his house has the Bissell Garage Vac or something similar. I'll leave both of those in the link in the description below. The one that I use here and the one my dad uses. It's great for infrequent use. For me here at the shop, when I'm vacuuming constantly, I need a vacuum that's going to last years. I can't have something that's going to break down after a year. I have to purchase another one. Not saying the Bissell's going to do that, but with heavy everyday use, I really need something that's proven, that's gonna last, and has very powerful suction. For me, time is money, so I have to be efficient when working. Now, what I would also say is there are some great tools that you can pair with that vacuum. So if you're a dog owner, you like to keep your car clean, invest in a vacuum. I think $250 makes all the sense in the world. I personally don't like the shop vacs that you kind of roll around the shop. They're like a wet and dry vac situation. The hoses are weird on them. They're not super convenient. I really like having mine wall mounted, having a hose reel. Now you don't need a hose reel. You can wrap it around, you know, the actual machine there. That's what my dad does at home. I personally just like it for clean organization, quick and easy for me to roll out, not fumbling around with the cord. Again, for me, time is really money. Now the two tools that you guys obviously know which one's one are these, the FurCobra and the Analan. Honestly, I would tell you these kind of tie, in all honesty. I can't really tell you which one I like more, but both of these are going to be replacing my Lilly brushes here at the shop. These work so much more effectively and quick. These are absolutely awesome. Now, I think it may be just an ergonomic thing, whether you like something simple like this or whether you like having three sides like on this one. If you have multiple vehicles like we do and have different types of carpet, this one may be the way to go with three different kind of sides on it, different serrated edges, maybe different use cases there. So either of these, very effective, cheap options. 12 bucks for the FurCobra and 15 bucks for the Analan. I think they're both fantastic. So I would pair these with the vacuum. If you already have an air compressor at home, I would definitely consider one of these. It really just depends on your use case. For me here, I kind of need all of these tools for different use cases and different situations. So I hope this video was extremely helpful for those of you dog lovers to keep your car cleaned. Honestly, don't sweat the small stuff. They're going to get your car dirty. The whole point is you can clean them up after, and they don't always have to be perfect. But those times when you do really want to do a deeper clean, get all of the dog hair out of there and start fresh, you can use these tools. Now, lastly, I would also really like to recommend you guys get some sort of mats to go on your carpet. Trust me, this will make a huge difference in how your car looks aesthetically as far as keeping the dog hair away from the carpets. It will also save your carpets over time. Now, that may not be such a big deal, but honestly, like on the back of seats, if you get those completely disgusting and maybe they need to get replaced, maybe they're ripped up from the dog's nails, you're having to replace a whole seat. It's not like you can rip that carpet out, put a new piece on there. It's part of the actual seat. So I would personally recommend you search, find some sort of, backing that you can put on there. I'll leave a link in the description to similar what we use in our ID4 and on my EV6. Thanks so much for watching. Enjoy your dogs. Get your cars dirty and then keep them clean. Thanks so much for watching another out of spec detailing video. We'll see you in the next one soon. Bye-bye.